Welcome to Holdback Rack Podcast. My name is Jessica Hare. I operate Hare Hollow Farm, and we breed boas, balls, and select colubrids.
Hi, I'm Jana King. I operate ASM Royal Tails, and I breed high-end ball pythons.
We want to share our journey navigating herpetoculture and are dedicated to promoting biohazard safety for all species. And we would love you to answer the question, what's in your holdback rack?
Well, hello, episode 35.
Almost as old as we are.
Well, I am 35 for another...
You bitch.
3 months? 3 months, so this is my episode. Next week can be your episode.
All right, thanks. You know, this is a not safe for work reptile podcast.
And I did not swear before she said that.
I did, though.
Yes, you did. That's fine.
Dang it.
You earned a few.
I can hear my kid screaming, so there will be some kid residual noise permeating the ambiance. And I am not actually going to apologize, so fuck you guys.
Yeah, fuck you guys. We're moms. There's going to be kids sometimes. And on one of the episodes, my sweet little girl gets up and serenades you all. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you better be appreciative. Yeah, I was derelict in my duty as a woman. I didn't actually make dinner, so dinner's being made now. Whoopsie daisy. Shane Kelly, still somehow the sponsor of this podcast.
I know. I mean, I thought if anything was going to scare him off, it was last week's episode.
I know. He was like, I love attempted murder.
I love snake theft and attempted double murders.
Yeah,
too.
He was really into it. And I was like, thank you. I don't know if you ever listened to the Joe Rogan where he would ad-lib his ad spots slightly differently every time. And sometimes they didn't work and sometimes they did, but they were always like very random and funny. So I have the ambition to do a slightly different, literally ad-libbed sponsorship read every time.
Cool. I'm
How
down
do you feel
with that.
about that? Instead of like a pre-recorded, oh my God, Shane Kelly of Small Town Exotics, he loves breeding ball pythons and he's starting to grow with leopard geckos and a hognose snake. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather just like make fun of Shane Kelly with murder. But this week, guess what he bought? A yellow belly mystic spot nose clown female.
Which I'm just as jealous about
I know.
as a Wookiee. Like, literally, Shane Kelly making news, dropping big dough on all the snakes I want. Like, he should just... I'm going to shoot you my address, Shane. And, you know, next time you get a snake, I think you just need to send it my way first. That's all. I'll definitely pass it along after, 5 or 6 years.
So thanks for sponsoring Shane Kelly, Small Town Exotics. Check him out on YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere you want to murder someone.
She's definitely going to be the next Ben Rennick story.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Oh, God.
In bad taste. Sorry.
I didn't make dinner because we've been, like, struggling with the house thing pretty hard. There are no houses that anybody wants to buy in Oklahoma, turns out, right now.
Still nothing?
I mean, we put an offer on something, and then it was... Someone else went over slightly, and they got it instead, but it wasn't even that great, so it was like...
It was like you didn't even want it, so
No.
You're like, oh, darn.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a real time suck to be, like, watching it and messaging her and being like, can you go tour this?
Yeah.
And then she's like, doesn't respond for a while. And I'm like, I hate her. And then I'm like, I don't hate her. I'm trying to resolve my anger issues. And then I yell at my husband and he yells at me and nothing gets resolved. And we just do not have an offer on a house. So that's pretty cool.
Is it possible for you guys to fly down there and look at a bunch of houses, or are you going to do it all sight unseen?
It's possible for one of us to fly down there. Probably him, but not both of us.
I was just going to say it's going to be him, yeah, because you'd have to take the kid.
Right. But
and that's a lot of money and tickets.
We don't need to do that to be okay, I think, with a remote purchase. You know, we have the satellite images, the Google Street Views. It's mostly like
most of the time
sending
they have, like,
her there to smell
through
the place, see if it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke or
meth,
old
or
people. Yeah,
old
meth.
people, or
Bodies sort of bricked into the walls. You know, that sort of stuff. You know,
urine drenched drywall. Yeah. just the basic stuff.
Just give it the old snip test, please. The main topic today is parthenogenesis, but mostly not the exact mechanics of everything that's going on and all the permutations, but I've seen a lot of people buying and selling parthenogens, and parthenogens are the animals that are born from this process, and they seem pretty happy.
Yeah, like they're buying it for their breeding programs and spending money, lots of money
Yes, and
for
I
these
thought
animals.
we were all on the same page, but apparently we're not. So this is our attempt to double down on, is a parthenogen a good purchase as a breeder or sort of a financial investment?
It's my story on parthenogenesis, my experience. So last year, I think I like nuked one of my breeder male's swimmers, and he was going to a couple of females, a couple like 8. One of the females that he went to decided that the swimmers were bad and she would just take care of that shit on her own. So she had a clutch and we were expecting to see lots of cool shit. And I like to cut open my eggs with my kids, and it's this beautiful, happy experience. And we're cutting open these eggs, and my kid is like, Mom, these are scary snakes. And she's 9, and I mean, like, she knows that there could be deformities or whatever. And she's like, they don't look right. There's something wrong. And so I like shuffle the kids out and I cut open this clutch, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. There was pink snakes and there was like kinked up, twisted black snakes with like no faces. And I was just like,
Can you tell the
what?
pairing
Yes,
from
sorry.
last
The
year?
pairing was a coral glow, which is banana for everybody who doesn't know that. Banana pied to black pewter, which is black pastel champagne. So there shouldn't have been pink or white snakes, and there should not have been what appeared to be super black pastels. And so I was just real confused. So I took a bunch of pictures, messaged them to my breeder friends. And, of course, that meant Jessica. And then I have another friend that's nearby that I've done some breed loans with. Everybody's like, oh, maybe they both have fire, maybe they both have yellow belly, they're ivories or super fires or something. I'm like, that's not it. And then Jessica's like, bitch, that's parthenogenesis. Newsflash, she cloned herself, and you're looking at some super champagnes, super black pastels, and some super black pastels, and they're fucked all kinds of sideways. Basically, the whole clutch was non-viable. There was one that appeared to be black black pewter. So I'm like, but this one's fine. I was super confused. Because they were non-viable and I was going to humanely euthanize them, I did not let them come out of the egg on their own. I did remove them from the egg. I took pictures, which I also sent out. And then I humanely euthanized all but the one. In case anybody doesn't know, super champagne is not compatible with life and is never viable. There was like 1 or 2 that looked fine-ish, but they had like the narrow faces, like that you can kind of tell if there's going to be something wrong. Anyway, so those were all euthanized. After sending those pictures around, then most people were like, oh, okay, it does look like parthenogenesis. Newsflash, Jessica's always right. But then I still had this one very viable black pastel, but she also looked hypo, which to my knowledge, there was no head hypo in the pairing. So I felt like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on with Mom. I don't know what's going on with this baby. I'm going to put this baby in a pet-only home because we don't know. It's a big freaking question mark. After doing some research, it was concluded that one baby, because it's not a double with parthenogenesis, basically they either copy both, so it's like a super form, or it's nothing. So it couldn't be a single gene pastel, single gene black pastel if it was indeed a partheno baby. But it has been found that mothers that partheno, their daughters are more likely to partheno. And so I still feel pretty good about putting that baby in a pet-only home. But now I know that baby was actually from the male that I paired her with. And so I found out that both my snakes were head hypo, which is cool. And then I rebred her this year, but I did not keep that male because almost all the clutches that he sired had problems. So I put him in a pet home, put her to a different male, which was a banana black pastel. Those hatched out last week and they came out of the egg. And again, I have two white snakes and one like dirty white snake. But they're male, which means they can't be Partheno, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel still confused as to what's happening with this girl, but she didn't Partheno because none of them are doubles of her, and most of the clutch is male. I feel pretty confident that she's not going to Partheno every year, but I still don't know if it's a good plan to continue to breed her if her daughters are more at risk of Parthenoing. What do you think about that, Jessica?
I think it's a great plan not to keep females that have ever parthenoed, because you would want to, when we'll get into it, have relative certainty that she is actually going to use the genetic contribution of the male you pick, right? Like,
Right.
you paired them for a reason. You didn't pair them for fun. You want them to make babies. I think in your case this year with the white ones, it must just be that sometimes a super black banana champagne pastel.
White.
Pastel? Yeah, she's a pewter.
Pastel.
Just
Yep.
is a white snake. Because some of them are almost white online that we've seen pictures of, and it just may be like luck. Just like a
Weird coincidence.
Yeah, like sometimes a pinto pied will be all white when most of them aren't. If you add one more gene to a pinto pied, like a fire or something, sometimes it'll make them all white. I think that's just what happened. The gender is enough evidence.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
I was excited to see that they were all male. All the champagnes are male. So I'm like, okay,
Like,
they're not.
like maybe
they're
even
not
the
Parthos.
banana pushed it over the edge. Like you added
Yeah,
banana
for
and
sure.
that was enough. Yeah, we'll get into the meat and potatoes here now. Our central thesis here is that a parthenogen should not be sold at full price for whatever that means to you. So maybe it doesn't have to be sold as cobra food, but it should be placed in a pet home at some sort of pet price relative to its morph. And we're going to try to prove to you why. So, what is parthenogenesis?
It is the asexual mode of reproduction that can develop from unfertilized eggs.
A lot of people know that this exists, but they think it's extremely rare. Is it extremely
not.
rare, Jana? All right.
It is not. I thought it was extremely rare. And then when it happened to me and I started looking around and I started talking to people and I started talking to you and you look it up, it happens all the time. Or sometimes it happens and people don't know it's happening. Like they're not thinking that's what happened. And they are continuing to keep these animals into their breeding program because they're like, oh, yeah, maybe they're both het pied, like they think it's this like magical unicorns popped out, but it's parthenogenesis. And then they're trying to keep those animals because they're like a lucky clown popped out or something.
Ooh, lucky.
And so they're keeping these animals, but it's actually not a contribution to your breeding program.
No. And in the wild, there's two kinds of parthenogenesis. Obligatory parthenogenesis, which is what Bimini blind snakes do and some lizard species do, where all they do is parthenogenesis. But we're talking about facultative parthenogenesis. So where a normally sexually reproducing species can just be like, I don't think so, and just decide to do parthenogenesis for whatever reason. And we don't know, based on the literature, the exact cues or
What the trigger is for it.
yeah, maybe it's dud sperm sometimes. Maybe they've just been alone too long and haven't seen a dude. And then things start to get...
Oh no, my species is dying. I must help.
And this is a basal trait, so it goes all the way down the like snake family tree to stuff that was just crawling out of a fossorial lifestyle. So this has been going on before snakes were even snakes. Monitors do it. Birdies do it. It's not weird. It's just a fact of life that we have to manage for. So everybody at home needs to go get their oogenesis chart up to try to remember how eggs are made. Eggs are made in such a way that there are 3 byproducts that normally just get thrown in the fucking trash, right? And you get 1 egg. And a sperm, all 4 of those products become a viable gamete. But eggs are special. We like to waste. Women are full of waste, and we just throw them all in the trash. But it turns out when snakes do parthenogenesis, they're using the second polar body. So like the eggs pair to act like a sperm and restore diploidy to the egg again. So that's why it's a clone. It's because that was the split of the chromosomes from the last set instead of the mom's other set. Like she's not using Everybody look at your oogenesis chart. She's not using the other polar bodies. She's using the exact polar body she just split off of that chromosome. That's why she can only make clones and not like heterozygous mixes from her other chromosome side.
Yeah, so the resulting offspring are called parthenogens and are half clones of the mother.
Right, they're not perfect clones of the mother. That's how she cannot make heterozygotes or the samey as her. She split her chromosomes in half, split them again, and then mushed the samey ones back together again.
Right, so that's why we knew that the single gene pastel, single gene black pastel was not a parthenogen because it's not double or nothing.
Right.
It's double or nothing, you know.
Right. It's a heterozygote at whatever
Yeah.
alleles you can see. So you know 100%, no matter the gender, that cannot be a parthenogen. There's an entire breed of turkey that has been established that only reproduces parthenogenically. And this is the evidence that Dr. Warren Booth uses in his paper for the heritability of it from other research papers. It is assumed to be autosomal recessive, although it's not like officially confirmed that it's autosomal recessive in reptiles and snakes. It's also assumed that that is true here as well. And just remember, if the mom was het or homo for parthenogenic tendencies, when she clones herself, if she's homo for parthenogenic tendencies, she can only make animals that are also parthenogenically tended, right? Because she did parthenogenesis. Her daughters must be
parthenogenesis. So they have the gene that they are likely to. This is where the meat and potatoes are. So she has the gene and she is guaranteed to give the gene to her daughters. So if you keep those girls back for your breeding program, or she pops out a clown or a pied, even if she's not a visual clown or a pied, those girls carry the gene and are likely to parthenogenic.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to say here.
Right. Even if they could produce sexually some of the time, is it worth it to like build in this bad recessive into your project?
Especially a high-end project.
Yeah. So in Xenophidians, and that's vipers, colubrids, elapids, and friends, and then the colubroids, which are the things that look like colubrids but aren't, so hognoses, they are ZW's sex system. So the female has the ZW, so she has two different sex chromosomes, and the male is ZZ. So in those animals, when they do parthenogenesis, they only produce males.
Interesting. That is real wild.
And they tend to have a terrible time of it. They will produce viable offspring, but there's a lot of deformed ones and low fertility and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I didn't clarify this. The reason that all of mine had to be euthanized is because the mother was champagne, and super champagne is not viable with life, and she was also black pastel. Super black pastels tend to have problems anyway, but if you're literally using the exact same copy of black pastel to black pastel, those were also not viable with life, because you can get away with it if they're like far enough apart genetic relations, and those tend to have healthier offspring, but that was literally the same copy, so they were just like,
what do you mean by far enough apart?
Like in heredity, like if you
so a super black and a super black, even if they're not that closely related, will still make a certain kink rate, no matter how
closely they're related.
Right, because it's just the gene itself that causes that.
It was my understanding that, like, if you breed two black pastels together and they produce like all kinked, people are like, oh, I need to get like further out, like if they're siblings or something, and they can get another black pastel and they'll have less kinks.
I would disagree with that statement.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my understanding.
That's like going and getting a palmetto and breeding it to a wild-caught corn snake and then breeding it back to a palmetto, not expecting big eyeballs.
Understood.
Yeah, it's just a function of the gene. The people who make good black pastels are just lucky, in my opinion. Like, congratulations. Okay. I don't know. That's why...
it's nothing that they did.
Fucking urban camo is real funny.
Genetic.
As a project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Boas and pythons, litters and clutches, have the same issues as the ZW animals because boids are XY system, the parthenogens produced are female.
Mm-hmm. This is actually how we know that they're XY. Well, the first paper that identified that the Xenophidians did this used the genders of the parthenogens and the banana gene as the evidence for why those more primitive snakes are XY sex chromosome. That was how we found out. Those two lines of evidence. And we've known that they've done it for a long time. Like made only daughters. And then we're like, I wonder how they do that. And there's a way that you could speculate that they could make daughters. But it makes much more sense if it's an XY sex chromosome system.
Litters and clutches can be partial partheno or fully partheno. Only the presence of heterozygosity could help you visually determine the genetics of the offspring. Can you put that in English for me?
So you had a partial partheno clutch. 5 of the animals or whatever were the product of parthenogenesis, and one of them was the product of sexual reproduction.
Okay.
So some people are like, well, if some of them are partheno, then all of them are partheno. Well, look and see if you can see heterozygotes in the genes.
Yeah.
And you did. And you found this sexually produced one, which still has the problems of its at least het for maybe pos het or whatever for the
partheno
partheno tendency, yeah. But is not dead, thankfully, because no super champagne, super black problems. So you could send sheds off to Dr. Warren Booth to determine if your animal is so homozygous that it is a parthenogen. But he doesn't actually want the sheds anymore because it's boring. Because that's all he gets. And he gets too many and it happens too often. And it's not rare or interesting anymore. So he doesn't want them.
Right. So don't send them, please.
Yeah. So you just have to...
He's on to the next thing.
Hope for the best when you breed stuff, mostly. So because the offspring are half clones of the mother, they are highly homozygous. And that means all up and down. All the genes they have. Not just the ones for color. For everything that could make a snake. Or a lizard, or a turkey. That means they have super high homozygosity for shit that's real bad. That's why
real bad.
You have high slug rate and they have high mortality, period. Baby, grow up a little bit, die at a year old, grow up a little bit, maybe breed once, die for no reason. And this is anecdotal. There's not evidence for this in the literature, but Dr. Warren Booth has gone over it a lot on all the podcasts he's been on. Talks about like he finally got a parthenogen boa to breed at 8 or something. He's like, woo, let's just see what happens. And she parthenos anyways and dies. Like a really homozygous animal is not a healthy, good animal.
It's like the same discussion that we had about if you have a really high-end project, there's like magical het albino in there that you don't know about, that you're just sprinkling all over your high-end G-stripe clown desert ghost, and then all of a sudden pops out a fucking albino and you dirtied the water.
Whole water's
all
dirty.
Your generations. This is like that, but it's partheno and bad and sick snakes and dying snakes and non-viable snakes.
And it's, I don't know, people write in and be like, what's the percentage of animals that are partheno tending? And I'm like, nobody knows. Nobody can answer that, right? But it's probably more than 0.0001, like so small an amount that we don't worry about it. It's enough that it's like an issue and it's worth excluding as best as you can from your population.
I spent a pretty penny on that girl, so now she probably needs to go to a pet home because I don't want to breed her to like my Kiki or a clown pie, because you're just sprinkling that into your project. It's a little frustrating, and I'm sure that others feel this way as well.
So parthenogens can obviously go on to reproduce sexually, like Jana, but they're predisposed to A, failure to thrive issues, B, producing more parthenogens because of this, heritability of the trait. So
yeah, we literally need to think of it as a recessive, because it is, but we aren't labeling het partheno.
Yeah. And even if you're like, oh, it's fine to my population, I just need to get her genes into one animal. We've already talked about it, like tainting your whole collection. And B, what if that's just wasted effort on your part? You want to get that Kiki to have good babies, and she's taking a slot from him, blocks from other females that would use his sweet
so it doesn't
jizz.
matter how nice, like her black pastel is nice. I mean, like Barnhart nice. It doesn't matter because it's sprinkled with shit.
Right. So you don't want to waste his effort, and you want to know what you're selling, and you want to have quality things to sell. So in general, I mean, we're taking a real shit on parthenogens here. We would recommend not to use parthenogens or females that produce parthenogens moving forward. So we think they should be sold at a pet or discounted rate. Oh, this is hard for me because I'm like, what is the right rate for an animal that could die at any time? If it's a
So,
parthenogen and not, one that is tending to make parthenogens?
so if it's an actual parthenogen, not like a het partheno, like the little girl that I put into a pet home, it is my feeling that that is cobra food, and that is only representative of
Ooh.
my opinion. But I think that the temptation is too high for, even if you label it as pet, even if you discount it, for someone to say, let's say it's like a black pastel clown and it's a Partheno baby. It's too tempting for someone to see that pet only Partheno baby and think,
The parthenogen wouldn't be black pastel het clown.
oh, you're right, it'd be super black pastel.
Like, let's say you had a baby clown born. That's a better one. Like, you're like, oh,
Okay,
yeah,
a
baby
baby
clown
clown.
is so
Just a
valuable.
baby girl
Female, yeah.
clown. And you're like, it's okay, it's Partheno. I know this is a Partheno clutch. Mom's not a visual clown. They're all girls. Like we've decided that this is a Partheno clutch, and we know without a doubt, based on whatever evidence is among the other snakes, so that we know that this isn't like a hidden het situation. Okay, well, this is Partheno. I'm going to label it as Partheno, and baby girl clowns, fresh out of the egg. They're like what, like $300-400? So you're labeling this as pet only, and you're going to sell it maybe like $150-200. Somebody who's trying to get in things cheap is like, well, you're a moron. I don't care if it's a Partheno baby. I'm going to get this cheap, and I'm going to put it into my breeding program. I feel like that temptation is high with certain snakes. And so I think that it should be cobra food. And I probably will get hate for that because every life is precious. But I think that if you're having Parthenos, you need to just eliminate that genetic material from the pool. I think that's the safest bet. Like that's the thing you can control. And like I said, that's my personal opinion. You do you. But I definitely don't think that people should be buying $5,000 Partheno babies and
I don't mean to laugh.
bragging about it on their Instagram about how badass this snake is, when literally you're sprinkling your high-end projects with shit, and you don't even know if the snake is going to survive to maturity and be able to give you a healthy clutch.
It's crazy. And there's lots of people I really like and respect. And I just like, I don't want to make you feel bad about yourself. But I do a little bit, but not too much. Just a little bit.
Not feel bad about yourself, but just we need to be, this
Right.
conversation needs to be had, because obviously people aren't understanding, no matter all the literature that is out there, people aren't processing it like we're saying it. Like, this is het or visual parthenogen.
Right.
And you're putting that, that dirty albino into your high-end stuff. And you're putting,
It's actually
like
worse
betting
than
on a
albino
failure.
too, because you're like,
It is worse.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just using that as an example because nobody wants albino in the Kiki Desert Ghost. Not only are you sprinkling that genetics into your thing, if the situation goes perfect and she ages perfectly and she produces perfectly and doesn't partheno, you're still spreading that genetics around. But likely she will not survive to maturity, or she'll die while she's gravid, or she'll slug out and then die. I mean, it's in no way, shape, or form a good idea or a good investment or a good building block in your program.
Exactly. And then weird bonus point I thought of, you know how people have been like complaining about a long time ago people would sell them hets that weren't hets. And I'm sure some of that was actually fraud. But I've always been like, how many of those were parthenogens? Because like you were breeding a recessive visual male to a bunch of normals.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have no idea if that was a parthenogen clutch because they would look like normals.
Right. There's no way to know
Right.
that that's what happened.
So
You just be like, score, I got all girls.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yes! That's
And
what
so
everybody
that's
wants.
why like lifetime genetics guarantees for recessives is important, because if there was no incomplete dominance that would inform your decision, and you could even have partial partheno clutches, those females could have been parthenogens and you would have no way of knowing. And it's not anybody's fault, like it's nobody's fault, but I think half of the cases where good breeders sold hets that weren't hets might have been parthenogen issues. I don't know. I'm guessing, but that's my theory right now. Like, how can somebody breed something to a puzzle for like a year and be like, yeah, I swear to God, it's het puzzle, and then 3 years later, there's all these ones that aren't puzzle. She parthoed. Maybe. That's my theory.
I support that theory. I think that has legs.
All right, that's it. Parthenogenesis. It's not that complicated. It sounded complicated. The point is, I think these aren't investment quality animals. There's lots of papers from Dr. Warren Booth. If you don't want to hear us talk about it, he talks about it like 30 times now on NPR in different forms. Go listen to that. It was good.
Didn't you say he was on MJ too?
Yeah, but he doesn't talk about parthenogenesis this last time.
Okay.
I think the
Because it was
first time
beat
he
to
did.
death. Go and look and listen, and it's mostly user friendly because I went and looked and listened and I understood most of it. So if I can do it, you can do it. I know it's hard. There's lots of big words sometimes. He does a pretty good job of making it clear for the layperson like me. And so I think that you can go and listen, especially on NPR, if his paper is too technical for you.
His
But
paper's
basically
pretty good, I'm going to be honest.
it's really good. No,
Yeah.
like I said, I understood it, and I sometimes struggle with that. He tries to make it pretty relatable lingo and things. And so, what we're trying to say is it's out there, it's happening, pay attention, think about it before you drop a big amount of money on a known partheno animal.
Yeah,
Maybe
and think
maybe
about it
sleep
if
on
you
it.
have a female who tends to have partheno clutches, it's phasing her out of your collection also, even though she could make okay, because she's shitting in your well.
Yeah. In summary, Jana is going to be selling that female as a Partheno female, probably pet only, and her babies, which are not Partheno, will be sold, and I will not be keeping any back for my breeding program. And in case none of that made sense, her babies are het Partheno.
Right, and there's no way to tell if a male is het. We just have to start working through it
Right.
in general. Like all things in the hobby that are hard and dumb, we got to work through it. Talk about it. Jana, how did your first Snakes in the Fatman Zoom call go? I heard it was extra juicy.
I have not had that much fun in a very, very long time. I had been given the heads up that there would be a lot of rated X conversation and questions, and that it was just like a bunch of filthy people hanging out, talking dirty. It did not disappoint. It was a lot of fun, and I will definitely do it again. And hopefully next time I won't be sitting in my car while I'm doing it.
Did you make your kids stay in the house? Because it's at 5 p.m. our time.
Right. So it's not safe for kids. And if your kids show up, they kick you out because it's very inappropriate for children. My ex, it was his custody day. So I was at a friend's house and didn't feel like it was safe to participate at a friend's house. I did not want to subject them to that Zoom call against their will. So I sat in my car,
Yeah,
participated.
I thought about it and I was like, sorry, Chrissy, I don't have time to have a sexy 2-hour jaunt on a Sunday night at 5 p.m. Like if we were on the East Coast, it would be easier.
I wish it was 8 at our time. It
Right.
would make it a lot easier because my kids would be in bed. But hopefully next Zoom call, my ex has been taking the kids at my house and I've been leaving, trying to keep continuity for the kids. But I think that everybody's doing okay and that he needs to take them to his apartment. From now on, I'm trying to work that out. So hopefully the next one I will be at home, not sitting in my car. But it was fun. It was so fun. And I mean, if that's your thing, cool. If it's not, don't come. If you're married and you feel like being dirty in a Zoom call is inappropriate to your marriage, don't come. But it was a lot of fun, and I am newly single, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
Jana recommends Snakes in the Fatman Zoom call.
Recommend. Yes. Sedona Ash, if that's your stick, just dropped a dinosaur, dinosaur thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you read it yet?
Yeah.
Or you started reading it?
I haven't read it. I'm still doing her Siren series, so I don't like to
Mix them up.
mix. And so, but it's on my list, and it's getting really good ratings. So no one's done a dinosaur one before, and I am
What do you
keen
mean no
to
one's
read it.
done a dinosaur one before?
Is that like a whole thing?
Yeah.
I have never seen a dinosaur one.
What? So
I guess I'm missing out on like this whole
Kendall's
subgenre.
rules are this is too much information. You can't have people have sex with animals that are real. So you can have sex with animals that aren't real or still alive. So
Oh, so
extinct
that why
animals.
she has
I'm
like
sure it's actually like
mermaids and
aware situation. Yeah, sort of. So you could write a story where you get boinked by a gangbang of pterodactyls, but if those were polar bears, which are real, unacceptable to Amazon.
that's interesting because I know people who like I can get so I read Anita Blake. I know you said you didn't know who that was, Laura K. Hamilton, and hers is like vampires and
So
werewolves
werewolves are
and
different. If they're having sex
were
while they're
leopards.
a person, that's okay. But if they're having sex while it's a wolf, unacceptable.
Okay, because they're not having sex while they're a wolf, but
Right.
she
But if that
isn't.
wolf was a dragon or something, acceptable. Unicorn, great. Extinct animal, excellent. The rules are hilarious, and
It is. It's very fun.
I don't know
Thank
why
you for
they make them.
explaining that.
Yeah, that was.
If nobody knew,
I'm
Jessica Moonlights as a kink author.
yeah, I haven't done it in a long time.
We will not disclose her pen name.
Yeah, pen
Sorry.
names are secret.
There's a reason that she's using a pen name, so you guys will just have to go without. I'm sorry, but it's good. It's good shit. I've read it. Good job, Jessica.
Thanks, buddy.
All the props. I would love to check that box on my bucket list to have wrote a wear kink sexy novel. That
Yeah, do it.
bucket
They're
list.
pretty easy. I'm gonna be honest. You can do it. Anyone can do it. You just have to believe in yourself. A little self confidence.
And I probably wouldn't use a pen name, but my name's kind of lame, so maybe I would just for fun. But I don't think I'd be like anonymous about it.
But you don't have to be anonymous about it, but if you have a particular kink, you want it associated with that name. So when people
Right.
search that, they can find all the ones that are related to that without like interacting with the ones related to something else. Does that make sense? That's most of the reason I think people use pseudonyms on romance. So like if they write erotica, they'll have an erotica pen, and if they write real romance, they'll have a romance pen, because that's like the romance clients might not be the same as the erotic clients. Amazon's weird. Women are weird. Men are weird. We're all weird together. 10 out of 10. Did you see the GHI Mojave Crypton, the character Meyer of...
I am dying to know what you thought of that. Because this is like your jam, the Mojo GHI and Clown. So
I mean,
the
what,
Krypton,
what
how
do
do
you
you feel?
think I feel about it?
I'm waiting to see because normally you're not a big fan of Krypton or Cryptic.
Well,
You
it's
would
weird
prefer
that you
Clown.
said that.
It's weird that I said that.
Yeah, I've never been like, I'm not a fan of Cryptic.
I thought you thought that Clown was always superior to
I think
Cryptic and that it should be valued at less.
I think it should be valued less, because the
But that
clown
doesn't
is
mean
the
you don't like
more...
it.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That snake was sexy as fuck.
Yeah, I think
That's
this.
all I gotta
I
say.
think it actually looks better than the clown he presents beside it,
Yes.
because it has higher
did.
contrast.
It did, and it was like glowing. It
Yeah.
was so gorgeous, and I was like, "Hot damn, I need some fresh air because whoa." I mean,
Yeah.
it really made me rethink. We have been discussing, Jessica and I, whether a Krypton G-stripe is just as valuable to a G-stripe clown project as a G-stripe clown, like a male, or if you're tainting your project with a less desirable thing, but they do different things. And that it confirmed to me that it could be just as good or better in other ways to have a Krypton rather than just a straight clown.
Yeah, if I have ever been like, this morph is stupid, that's not what I mean. I mean, Cryptic shouldn't, because it's not rare, it should not be more expensive than clown.
Well, you explained that to me just
Yeah.
now, and now I know. I just thought that you were
Like,
shitting on the gene in general, but I
no.
understand what you mean. You're
Yeah.
just saying that it's
Like, I think it's gonna, like, I think I've posited this theory that the tri-stripe clown is pretty lame, but I think the Cryptic clown, or the Krypton clown, will be much less lame.
you mean the Krypton tri-stripe?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant, sorry. Or the Cryptic Krypton puzzle will be less lame than the clown puzzle, because
Yeah.
it's asking it to do different things. But you could still use your clown with a lot of genes in it you've had for 100 years to leverage that, as long as Cryptic was on the other side too. I think it's all good, and we should have more of it. 10 out of 10 would murder Character Meyer and take It's GHI
With the
Mojave
murder
Crypton.
again. See,
Oh
okay, so
man.
I'm on blowjob duty, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, maybe he would accept a blowjob
You think?
in exchange for selling this animal. I mean, I would pay for it as well, but like
That's
maybe
very
that's what you
nice of you.
need.
Very
Maybe that's
generous.
what you need to like get through the door is like I'd like to give you a blowjob and then maybe we could talk sales.
Oh God, can I talk about a story real quick about
Sure.
GHI Mojave clowns? I told you I tried to buy one from a particular vendor last year. Did I tell
Mm-hmm.
you that? And they
You
wouldn't
did, and it was
sell it
very
to me
disappointing.
because they didn't
Yes.
like me enough. And I asked for testing on intake. And they have one now, this year. Sorry. So I tried to buy it in 2020 and I couldn't get it. And then in
Then did you just
2021,
like go buy a whole bunch of colubrids because you were like, I fucking hate this industry?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they had a bunch last year, and they've had one sitting since 2021, now into 2022. And it looks just as nice as the one I would have wanted. And now it's like an older male, and it's just still sitting. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Because,
Because he could have sold it to you.
yes, and he could have sold this one to me, if he had been nicer. Like, I'm thinking about it. Maybe I need to warm up. And it's a very nice GHI Mojave clown, like very disrupted, none of that banding shit.
Because some of them are dog shit.
Yeah,
I just gotta be honest
yeah.
with you. Some of them are fine, but some of them are dog shit.
100%. There's some on there right now that don't look that great for the combo. So this is a great example, but fuck that person. Just remember, when you tell someone to pound sand because they want to test, they're never going to buy from you again, And he was,
Well, I mean, like there's
or
the
she, I
pound
don't know the
sand.
gender.
We talked about this in the Chris Eaton episode of I've got a hard on for the snake. I've still got a hard on for the snake. I want it so bad. I
Just-
really, really want it. And it's giving me heartburn. Like that's where I'm at with it right now because I'm, big over East Jana and I normally like to just gamble and risk it, but I don't know, I feel like maybe I've matured and I can't do that anymore.
Oh,
I
buddy.
just want to. It's such a sexy snake, and I want the snake, and I want the genetics of the snake, and I got all hot for cryptic. I think that it would like make my project stand out ish. I want that snake so hard.
But they suck. So,
But they suck and they won't let me test. And they aren't going to do anything if I do test and it's positive. They're just going to tell me to fuck right off. So
things are changing, though. There's got to be somebody somewhere who has something kind of similar. You just have to, I don't know, call people,
well,
flaunt
JKR
some
lowered the
BJs or
price.
whatever.
JKR lowered the price on his red stripe clown double het.
Yeah, I saw that. Isn't that interesting?
He lowered it to 12 instead of 15.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, that made me a little excited, and I was like, "Yeah,
Getting
buddy."
closer. He also lowered the price on that spot nose chocolate clown. I think somebody
I didn't
bought
see
it
that.
eventually, but it went from like 10 to like 8 or something. Eventually, I don't know what it went for in the end. Price
Would it be
drops are
obscene
coming.
to spend 10K on a red stripe clown, double het, G stripe, desert ghost?
Yeah,
That would be obscene.
yeah. To me,
Yeah.
What do I know? I wish it was at least double for one. And
Yeah, because you can get a double visual for 8.
I don't know. Just see what pops out of eggs coming up, or people finally decide to let go from last year.
Oh,
'Cause
you
they've
think
been
I'll be able to
sitting on
get?
it. Yeah, maybe. Because people are like, oh, fuck, I have too much shit. I don't know if you noticed, but the economy's really going tits up really hard.
It's real struggling. Milk, $6 a gallon. Gas is $6 a gallon.
Yeah, we're not doing good. So
Yeah.
this ball python's selling season, which I may or may not have predicted appropriately or not.
She totally
almost
called it.
think it's going to
Jessica's
be
always right.
even worse now.
For how long?
I don't know. Usually the economic downturns
right
don't
itself,
ruin the
right?
ball python industry. Like, it still exists. But the people that are more weakly positioned do not do that great. Like, if they don't have cash to, like, carry animals without selling them, if they're literally, like, hand to mouth, taking care of their collection,
Yeah.
those ones will struggle. There's a picture, which I'm going to share the Facebook group, of some literal piece of shit who decided to raise up a female super Motley, which looks like, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and quote unquote successfully bred it. Round of applause. Good job. So they kept it alive for 3 or 4 years or whatever it took, and it looks like dog shit. Like its head is sunken in so bad it's barely functioning. Its entire body is emaciated and sad. And its successful clutch was a bunch of slugs and stillborn babies. So congratulations, you giant piece of shit. You've tortured an animal for 4 years by keeping it alive and then bred it to prove a point that it could be bred. I hope you fucking put a gun in your mouth and kill yourself. That's my statement for the day. The picture will be in the Facebook group. I had one of our European people sort of post it up. I think it's a European breeder. I hope they eat shit and die. Don't make super motleys, everybody.
If you would like to know what she's referring to, because you don't speak Boa, we have a whole episode about this. It's a wonderful episode. You should go listen to it. I don't know what number it is, so figure it out yourself.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, super motleys are a mostly lethal combo. Sometimes some of them make it past 2. And no one has ever bred a female, to my knowledge. So Jana is also on Morph Market buying things while we're trying to record a podcast. And it's distracting. No, the
Bitch,
point
you're
is
not supposed to tell on me. You're eating
I
dinner.
just
Come
did,
on.
because I was like, what the fuck? Congratulations, you bred it for the first time, but it looks like it's in absolute agony and it wants to be put down. Jeff Goldblum at the end of The Fly bringing the fucking shotgun muzzle to his head. That's what this snake wants. God, what's wrong with people? Fuck you. That's all. Do you have any feelings about torturing animals?
This ties in really well to our topic that we were just discussing. Like, if you're raising up these female parthenogenic babies, are you doing the same thing?
Maybe, I don't know. They look better than this fucking super motley looks.
Yes, they do. They do look better. You're not wrong. I mean, it's real bad. It's real bad, guys. She's gonna put it in the group. If you're not a member of our group, please go join the Holdback Harem. You'll get to see exciting things like our new awesome logo. We did not talk about that at the beginning. Is that in news?
Right. You can just say, it was just going to happen whenever. It happened now.
Oh, okay. Happened now. We have a logo. And we agreed on the logo. You like the logo, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a glowing recommendation. I fucking love the logo. My friend who I've been with, Holly, we had gotten really far on it together after a year, and I shot it off to her, and she just touched it up for us. And so thank you, Holly. It
wasn't a year. It was like 3 days. Like, we always knew we needed a logo, but we were not worried about it. A real logo.
We could not even get a starting point. We are two very different creatures, in case anyone listening had any doubts.
100%.
100% different creatures, and that's what makes this podcast so awesome. We also got a shout out from MJ.
Did we?
Yeah, his Black
Heart Exotics?
Yeah. I was listening to that today, and he's like, the Holdback Rack, go follow them. They're awesome. And I was like, whoa, that's us.
At the beginning or at the end? I listened to it in the car. I just didn't. We were driving to.
At the beginning, you must have logged in under.
I missed it.
Holdback Rack, because he saw that you were in the.
Oh yeah.
In the comments, and he was like, "Hey, Jessica, Holdback Rack. Those girls are awesome."
MJ. I know.
Yeah, MJ's awesome. Thank you, MJ. If you're listening,
we also
love you.
Who else? Oh, Gomez Pythons left a 5-star review too. It was very nice.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. Thanks, Gomez Pythons. Gomez Pythons has a great YouTube channel too. So if anybody wants
really great YouTube channel,
check him out all day. I don't know why anybody likes this. I get really confused. This is my version of imposter syndrome. I'm like, ugh.
Which is so funny because from day one you were like, people would love listening to us talk, and I'm like, bitch, please, us and our 10 listeners. I was like, but that's cool because I want to re-listen to it. So selfishly, I'm here just because I'm a weirdo and I want to replay Jessica and I's conversation.
Oh, Brittany Gobbles on MJ this Thursday. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that,
yeah.
So I definitely be checking that out.
Nice.
All good things.
Yeah, speaking of Brittany, she and her husband, who's a vet, did a Nido talk. Did you watch the whole thing?
Okay. Love me some Gobbles.
She would gobble a gobble, is what she's saying.
I would gobble a gobble. Brittany, you're hot. I would totally gobble a gobble.
Are you saying you didn't listen to the whole thing? You dumb bitch! Everything this week was too boring to Jana. I sent her like 3 different things, and I'm like, what is wrong with Jana? She doesn't want to listen to anything. Oh my God. I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, okay, great. We'll talk about it. Now we can't even talk about it because Jana doesn't even listen to it.
Listen to like 45 minutes, and then I realized
It's 2 hours
that
long.
I should probably restart it.
What?
But so okay, I did have something to contribute to this conversation.
Go ahead and contribute it.
There has been question as to whether we should be explicitly stating that there is no vertical transmission, or if we should be saying, as far as we know, as far as studies have shown, but more studies need to be done, there is no vertical transmission. So how should we be stating that? Because everything that I'm seeing and watching and hearing from veterinarians, which isn't always correct.
He never says that there is. He says it. Are you saying that you think he said that?
He said that based on our current understanding, but more studies need to be done, more long-term access to babies of Nido positive snakes to continue to test them to make sure that it is.
There's nothing wrong with the way that he said that.
No, I'm saying, is there something wrong with the way we're saying it when we say there is no vertical transmission as like a blatant fact?
God. So this is the let me just talk for 2 minutes. Hopefully we can clear things up. So at this point in the podcast, we are not speaking like scientists. I was trained as a scientist. I know the correct way to speak, where you couch your arguments in the degree of certainty that you have. In this podcast, we're speaking like animal science people who have farms of animals. So current best evidence is there is no vertical transmission. At the time that we discover vertical transmission, we can start dealing with that. But I can't prove a negative. I can't go out and find all of the Nido positive moms and test all of their babies. If the current best evidence we have is that there's no vertical transmission, then that's what we're going to go with in terms of recommendations. A vet or a scientist can couch it in the degree of certainty that they have. And this is not a Dunning-Kruger effect either. Fuck you guys. The degree of certainty that I have is based on, the need to have a management practice, not the need to know all of the
outcomes,
the permutations of facts. I know how to do both of these things, and I need to keep animals alive now. So,
okay, because I didn't feel like we were doing it wrong, but it has been posed to me that we had been stating it incorrectly, and I was like, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you remember the 7 episodes ago when we went over that paper where they found nidovirus infecting the ovaries or the tissue around ovaries of certain pythons?
Yes.
And I was like, it's a possibility that in a snake where the infection is so advanced, it could pass into the egg before it's calcified or whatever. And we were like, yeah, that is a possibility. But we have no evidence of that. So if we spend all of our time couching every piece of evidence in all of its sort of, maybe. This is the 80-20 rule.
Right. So my question is, I have a baby that was the baby of a mother that died shortly after laying due to nidovirus. If I'm going to send out a test anytime soon, should I just swab them just for curiosity's sake? But they test these snakes up to 4 years after, and they were continuously negative.
I don't know if it was 4 years. The paper's from 2017, I believe, if people want to go read it for themselves. But they did a while, a more time than one time right when they were born.
Right.
Maybe a year. I'm definitely guessing. Okay. I haven't reviewed that paper. It wasn't 4 years because that would have been more time than they had the Nido colony. But,
okay.
So if people want to be concerned about vertical transmission, good. Because sunshine virus does transmit vertically. And we know that 100% for sure. It's in the peer-reviewed literature in pythons. So that would be bad. Right now, we don't have evidence of vertical transmission in Nido, nor do we have evidence of Bigfoot. But we got to go with the evidence we do have, which is when we've tested positive adults, we've gotten only negative babies if they were artificially incubated. Could that theory be wrong? If an animal is so sort of pronounced their infection that it's managed to get in other tissues, yes. There's a possibility of that.
Okay. I feel good about that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for clearing that up because I was like, I don't feel like I feel good about saying that. Like, I feel pretty confident saying at this time we don't think there's vertical transmission. I feel good about stating that, and so I just wanted to check in with you because I feel like I'm not as confident in my rah Nido education like yet. I'm still green to it, and so I wanted to run it by you, who I feel like you have a much stronger backbone and foundation. So when someone
Yeah.
questions me about something and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong.
I think the hard part is like, how a scientist could be like, we're pretty certain climate change is caused by human CO2 emissions, mostly. Right? That sounds like a wishy washy statement.
Yes.
But they are doing that because that's how they're trained to speak.
Okay.
They cannot find a smoking gun of a cow farting in a field somewhere and be like, this is the methane that is going, it's caught. Like, you know what I mean? There's too much.
Right.
And
There's
they have
too many
to do
factors.
things based on, whatever sort of
Evidentiary
statistical
support.
analysis, and
Yeah.
you would need multiple, whatever. This discussion is not like that. It's what is the best evidence. The testing community has come to like what do we do with what we have that's in the literature
Right now.
right now, and then a little bit of anecdotal, and then what is best effort. If the people who kept Nido colonies would go to their researchers and tell them that they were seeing vertical transmission, please do tell. Like, that would be good information to know, because then there'd be a lot less people keeping Nido colonies, and they wouldn't like be as wishy-washy about it. Good. Let's learn that.
Absolutely.
Like, no one's like
Good,
suppressing that information. I do think, going back to the Dunning-Kruger effect, people may presume that our level of confidence doesn't have to do with an actual sort of level of expertise in the field. I would disagree.
Okay.
What do you think? My husband thinks he's good at driving. Do you know that more than 50% of people think they're good at driving?
I'm terrible at driving.
Like above average driving?
They should not have given me a license, yet they did, and I do, and I'm lucky I don't kill people every day.
Well, the whole point is that you might actually be better than average at driving.
That's sad. That's real sad.
If people have any sort of concerns about how, like, aware we are of the current literature or whatever, trust me, bro. I got it.
He's got it. Jana might not have got it, but Jessica definitely got it. Okay? Okay, there. Thank you. So those of you listening that posed this question.
Let's go back to the Gobbles. I watched the whole thing. I didn't disagree with anything they said. Literally matches what we said. So there's no disagreement there. There's just some things where they're like, I'm concerned about this hypothetical scenario that would like to just like touch on. Like, they were like, I'm concerned about fraud, where people keep a Nido positive just... What's hard about that is a diligent tester is not like this.
Not making money from it.
Right. So
it is not a scam. Indicates that the scammer is making money off of duping somebody. Testing is expensive and obnoxious, and it fucking sucks. Okay? Anybody who needed to know that, there you go. Okay? But you gotta do it. You gotta do it. It's like when you gotta take a real big poop and you know it's gonna suck.
But then it's nice when you're done.
Yeah, there is no way but through. And so nobody is keeping a Nido positive snake so that they can send off Nido positives so then they can just send you back your damn snake. Because you know what? If you have to send a snake back to a breeder, you got to pay shipping. So you've paid for your fake test, quote unquote. You've paid for your return shipping.
Right.
You're out $100, possibly $150. How is that a scam?
Well, they were worried about people being like, I don't want it to come back. And then just assuming that they euthanized it and they didn't. And I'm like, well, that's why you need to insist that it comes back. Like,
yes.
This whole scam scenario doesn't actually work out if you insist that it comes back before you refund.
Well, like, I had a Nido positive snake that I purchased and I was refunded for. And the person, this was prior to me checking beforehand if it was okay for me to test these snakes. And it all happened like right when I was like first getting into Nido testing. I had a very expensive snake come back positive for Nido. And I contacted the breeder, and they didn't know anything about Nido. And so they were like, give me a minute to do some reading. And I was like, cool, do some reading. And so they had spoken to Rao, they'd spoken to vets, they talked to people, and they were like, okay, legit thing, here's your money back. And I was like, but I want to send you your snake back. And they were like, if it's diseased, I don't want it back. Please just euthanize it. I understand where that leaves you with an ethical, like, if I have other Nido positive snakes, I could totally breed this expensive male to my other snakes that are already positive and totally scam my way into these clutches. And I'm not going to lie, I thought about it for a hot second, and then I euthanized the snake.
Right.
But if you
don't
just accept the snake back, there leaves no room for the unethical person to do that. There's no room if you just do it how the system should be set up, which is you have an intake place, just like you have a quarantine place to re-intake, and then you can do your own test and confirm if that is a Nido positive snake. And if it is, you can do with what you choose to do with your Nido positive snakes at that time. Then it's your business and your problem, and you have removed the element of scamming or unethical practices by the other person, and you're covered. So, yes. Sorry.
And they also thought that someone, like a PETA member, would have a positive and would swab it every time they got a snake from a seller and just claim that that test was from that snake, but not send the stuff back, and then just like go on Facebook and blast the whole reptile industry for sending out positives over and over again. And I'm like, that is like a very specific kind of weird person. Like, I don't know how you could prevent that from happening anyway. So let's just like find that shitty buyer and not sell to them. Like out them as a piece of shit and get rid of them.
And again, if you're asking for the snake back and you would test it on intake into your return quarantine, if it wasn't really Nido positive, you would have evidentiary support to say that this person is a shit person and a fraud.
Right. Or whatever. Like, there's definitely ways, like, they were just trying to think of ways that they thought things were concerning. And I don't think they thought this was definitely going to happen. A lot of them were slippery slope arguments. And the whole point of slippery slope arguments being a form of propaganda is they imply that things will sort of degenerate to a position that will never actually degenerate to. Like, they came from cats, and they talk about cat testing and how they had to have a rabies vaccination before they go to the cat shows and all this other stuff. All of that is true. They seem on board with testing. It's okay to be concerned about the logistics of how the industry sort of moves forward, but there's nothing really to dispute there. They did say that most of the vets that they talked to would prefer tests happen a couple of days after shipping, which I agree with. The hard part is a lot of sellers do not want you to wait a couple of days.
Right, because they said that they assumed that that it takes 30 days to infect and become positive a snake. Like, if they're exposed to it, that he said 30 days.
Right, but so, I mean, like, if the shipping stress was what was going to make them go from a non-detectable asymptomatic, I'm just talking about that part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to detectable, they wouldn't necessarily be detectable the next day because they hadn't gone through enough stress yet. So I agree with that, but in a world where we're trying to convince sellers to let us test at all, if
it to happen like literally from the box.
Right. So if sellers, most of the snakes that I've tested from sellers haven't been the same day. They've been, you get a snake into the hub on a Wednesday for Thursday. You can try to overnight it the next day, but a lot of times I just did it because they get stuck on the weekend and you're fucked. I'll just do it the next Monday. And most sellers are cool with that if they know it's like a loan. So if sellers could be cool with that, that's cool. They do bring up good questions about, like, if the snake was just at a show and just got Nido and is undetectable, and then 4 weeks later it gets it, when is the seller's responsibility gone, and when is it back? It fallbacks on the buyer if it was negative 2 times and it's positive coming out of quarantine 6 months later because it finally succumbed enough to be detectable. I don't know the answer to that. I think the answer should be if more people tested more often, we wouldn't even have to deal with this. If most snakes that went to shows did not have infectious diseases, because most people were testing and using good biosecurity, no snake would go to a show and accidentally pick up from contact Nido, and then this would even be an issue. So that first test on intake will be enough in a world where we're doing better, in my opinion. So then you don't have to extend the liability of the seller out a long time, because that brings in other issues, like what if they just kill it because the thermostat was unplugged or whatever. So the seller's liability cannot be infinite.
Correct.
There has to be a constraint. I don't know how long the industry's constraint will be. A month would be great. That'd be pretty fucking dope, because that would get you to take care of crypto, and like if it had just been infected with Nido, it might cover arena, maybe not. And we would get close. So, but like a month would be cool if we could all like collectively agree on a month, 2 months. If it was kept in a QT all by itself and you like had video and evidentiaries that you could offer. I don't know. These are just good questions. And then like obviously people who have Nido or have ever had an animal test positive are afraid that people blacklist them as unviable because they've ever had Nido. Clearly that's not true, right? Because I prefer to buy from people who have had Nido and then did something good about it.
Yes.
Because that means they're much more aware of the right way to do things. I 100% prefer to buy boa people who've had arenavirus problems, because that's the best, cleanest ass boa you've ever bought. I like go out of my way. I'm like, did you have an arenavirus problem? Like, yeah. And then I tested everything and I took care of it and I have good between animal QT. 10 boas. Sign me up. Let me buy them all.
I'd like one from each of your projects.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let's make this a $10,000 package. You know, someone who's had a problem is better to me than someone who hasn't had a problem, because they're doing the work to make it work better. If they continue to be fuckwads and just have a uncontrolled, unmitigated spread, that's when people get blacklisted, right?
Yes.
Right. But in general, the video was good. I literally do not think they disagree with us in any way.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was very well done, the 45 minutes I watched.
Okay, Jana, why do you hate Jon Fealy? Let's talk about that.
I feel like maybe I was just having an off day because everybody was so boring.
Well, maybe we'll do it next
listening
week.
to these two guys just like, dude, bro it up, and they're talking about doing their shots at the shows, and dude, I was so hangry, I couldn't drink anymore.
This is the William Fillapek episode, everybody, by the way.
So much dude broing happening that I was like not digesting any of the good things that were coming out of their mouth. That it was painful. It was real painful.
So you're saying Jon Fealy's really boring and you hate him? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean I'm gonna give him another chance on a day where I've had some coffee and stuff. But
okay, I'd like to talk about it more. There was lots of things brought up about the ball python industry and Desert Ghost, or we can move on and never talk about it again. I just want to know.
I think we should just try again next week.
So boring.
We'll try again next week.
Oh, and last
How's
night,
that?
Yeah, just take some cocaine or something, and then you'll listen to it really good.
All right.
Final random news. Steven from Leviathan Snakes and Courtney were on Warful Morphs live last night. And I was listening as I was feeding snakes. And then the podcast went into like hour 3 or something. And I don't always comment in every live I'm in. Sometimes they're just there like lurking like a fucking creeper, right? But then Steven made a very nice comment about Chris Eaton being like a great professional guy. Really sweet. And I was like, I'm telling Chris this. So here it is on the podcast. And so I commented that. I'm like, Steven, I'm telling Chris. And he's like, and so then they knew I was in there because I finally commented. Shout out to the new love affair of the decade. Who's going to win? Chris's heart, Steven or Shane?
I don't know. Steven has a lot of ass kissing to do if he's going to beat out Shane. I mean, because Shane's got it all going on. We'll see. Stay tuned.
I just thought it was cute. Funny. Go listen to that. Do you ever watch Warful Morphs?
I've never heard of it, so I opened it up and I've got it on my to-do list.
You
Is
know,
it boring? Because it's 4 hours.
God,
Who
if we
am
have
I
to like
now?
pick priorities, yeah, listen to the William Fillapek one
Okay.
first because that has
Okay.
more like industry.
I
Because
know. I mean, like I could like hear that they were talking about important things, but they were like, maybe I need to just listen and not look at them because it was just brutal.
listen, I don't literally ever look at any of these people. I'm usually
I'm normally
doing
like
something.
a super visual person, and so yeah, maybe I just need to listen to it.
Go scrape
I don't know.
some urates out of a tub somewhere, or feed
Yeah,
something, or
yeah, I got to clean tubs tomorrow, so I'll try again. Yes,
okay,
boss.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
There was a lot
I
of
just was having a
fun.
hard time focusing all weekend.
Fucking Jana, can't take her anywhere. Can't take her to a podcast. Can't take her to a show. She's just busy
But she
being
can't
weird,
live
distracted.
without me at all. And you guys know she loves me. But I
I do
am
love you. You're my first
impossible
wife.
sometimes. Yes. That means there's room for a second if you're numbering me. Mm.
Who
I met
would?
some
All
exciting
right, this
people
is a
at
good
Zoom,
question. Who
just so
is
you
your
know.
second wife? If you in the industry, if you had to pick one right now.
Well, in the industry, it's kind of industry adjacent. My second wife would be Holly because
Oh
we do
yeah, yeah.
all of
She's
our
hot.
shows together. But she's not really. She's a hobbyist and she does
All right.
jewelry.
Just somebody girl that's famous in the industry or not famous, I don't care. Just shout out somebody hot that's your second wife.
I don't know. I met some cool people at the Zoom.
All right, who on the Zoom is your second, third, fourth sister wife? Pack.
Sister wife. So Amanda,
What's her business name? Do you know?
Kundalini Scales
All
on
right,
Instagram.
never heard of it. That's okay. I'll look it up. What?
She is hot as fuck. And she made my top 3 list. If you don't know what that is, come to the Zoom. Bree Barnum,
What's her?
Smoky Mountain Reptiles, Smoky Mountain Exotics, something like that. Those are my wives. Who's your wife? Smoky Mountain Balls is Bree Barnum's
Do I
page.
marry them for their snakes or for their bodies?
Either is acceptable. If we're doing snakes, then Brittany Gobble, because she's into the Enhancer G-Stripe project, just like me.
I'm looking
She's
at
also
my
hot.
Instagram to like think about it.
She's browsing the menu, everyone. I just
I'll
would
marry
like to say,
Outworld. She was showing her off her wedding dress that she picked in the Discord. Hey, girl.
hey girl.
What's up?
Yeah. Wedding dress pictures.
Did you
Hopefully,
see them? She had like a
out
white
there.
one and a black one for
Ooh,
a change of
that's
mood. It was real
change of
fun.
mood. That is fun. I would just like to say that our logo on Instagram looks hot.
Yeah, I don't know why you're like freaking out about it. I think it's pretty good. Is it
I just like it. It makes me happy.
all right? Good. I think it's good.
I'm just gonna just bask in the newness of it, and it's probably the last logo I'll ever get to create and
Is it?
participate in. And I just
You're not gonna redo your logo with SD Design one day? I have some.
envelope. Yeah. With an envelope. Yep, totally. Yeah, he can make mine like half open, maybe. What do you think?
I
You
mean,
think?
the
Maybe?
Nava Reptiles one doesn't look like an envelope.
Oh, well, they got lucky. That's not really my style. Although I mean, I really do like geometric type shapes and stuff. I really like this was not done by him. I really like Royal Con Designs new logo. I think that's really well done. But zero plans to redo my logo ever. So
What
we'll
if you
see.
didn't have
5-year
any
plan?
more pies?
I have made a decision on that. Does that count
Well,
as a
it's
collection update?
updates. Let's do it.
I am keeping Clown Pied.
What?
What?
After all
And
that?
after all that drama, I am keeping the Clown Pied project, but I am axing anything not recessive. I need to get a Kiki or a Enhancer G-Stripe Clown flavored male, and then I can probably get rid of my Clown boys. And then, I don't know, I might be getting rid of my pied male too, and he'll just, all the pied shit will go with the clown pied. Anything could happen.
Well, this means that you wouldn't potentially have the funds for a Kiki to repay your savings if a Kiki showed up if you didn't sell clown pied. Is there enough money elsewhere?
Yes,
Okay.
there's enough money elsewhere.
All right, then that's all that really matters.
Yes, so I will be getting a mail this season, some kind of flavor of the above 3 recessive projects. It might be the one I just sent Jessica while I wasn't paying attention.
That was a female.
Fuck you, it was not.
Definitely.
It is.
Yeah, I saw those a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, they're nice. And then they were females. I mean, they're still nice. You might want to get them. How much money do you have? Give me all your money. That would have been fine
out into my pillow.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Excuse me while I go have a nervous breakdown. But yes, clown pied. Hopefully my desert ghost proves out cryptic, and so he can go to my clown pied female and make me some Krypton double heads. That'll be cool. That's gonna move forward, and we'll raise funds by selling off all the breeder females that aren't nailed down or recessive. Yeah, that's the plan right now. We'll see where I come up. I'd have to run some numbers and see what that equals. But then I have a lot of babies to sell too. I have savings, so I can buy it ahead of time, and then I just have to replace it.
Did your clown crawl out?
My Paradox Highway baby, I think, is dead in the egg. I'm real upset about that. So I cut the clutch. Everybody was good. I was gone from my house for 2 days. So when I got back, I pulled them out, check on them. I like to replace the paper towel. Real obvious umbilical wrap.
Oh, no.
And so I was like, oh, fuck. And then I poked at it, and it wasn't really responding. It hadn't broken through its inner sac yet. And I don't ever normally do this, but I broke open the sac and pulled out most of the snake. I didn't yank out the yolk or anything like that, but found its head and thought it was dead. But I was you have to feed part of the snake in through and really tangled in its umbilicus. I untangled it, and it was sitting in my hand, and I'm like, it's dead. It's a goner, And I was really, really mad because this is a really cool looking snake. Then it started moving, and so I was like, okay, sorry. I plopped it back into its egg, right? And it was still attached to its yolk, and the yolk was still in the egg. I didn't J whatever it out. I was still being careful, even though I thought it was dead. And so I just kind of tucked it all back in its egg, and then left it. And then I checked on it this morning, and it won't sieve. So I left it in there. We'll see if it crawls out, but I don't have high hopes for it.
Yeah, it probably wasn't doing good to begin with.
Yeah, it was probably already too late by the time.
So you're not announcing the clown clutch yet? Or no?
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for it to crawl out because I think it's a sugar clown. My first visual clown. It's definitely a clown, and it definitely looks like a sugar clown. And I am happy as shit. But anything can happen between now and then, so I'm waiting for the clutch to crawl out.
What day do you cut?
Day 55.
Sometimes I'm gonna be honest, you look like you cut early to me. Wink.
Sometimes I have cut early, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. They usually are fine. It doesn't matter. Right? So I usually cut when multiple have pipped.
Yeah, I don't do that, and I should.
57-ish when I run an 88.5 or 88.9 or so.
That's 88.9 is about what mine sits at. But I have the thermostat set to 88, but it usually sits at about 88.9.
Right. So I don't normally get to cut until 57 or maybe even 58 if it was low in the incubator. It's fine. They don't care. I've definitely cut stuff early by cutting on date, even if the incubator was the correct temperature, because stuff would be low and was slightly 1 degree cooler or something, because the incubator was too full and the air wasn't moving that well. You know how that happens. So I just stopped cutting based on date. I just either feel or mostly multiple pips.
I've been discussing this with myself, been positing to myself that maybe I need to wait for multiple pips. I'm not the best at waiting, so.
I probably almost killed one of my GHI head clown fire fucking things last year because I cut them early because they were low and I was cutting based on date. They looked like day 50 but they were really day 58 because they were just cooler. And so that one got scared, was not tangled, became tangled 2 days post cutting. And then I had to.
Yeah, this one was definitely not tangled when I cut the clutch.
Right.
Like
so
it totally
me cutting
was me
it
cutting
made
the clutch.
her
Yes,
made
correct.
mine also. And so I had to like ligate her yoke because she was dragging it around and bleeding everywhere because she left. Because I also had like fiddle with her to unwrap the yoke.
Yeah.
And
Did you
then she
bust
ran
the inner yoke, the inner sack? Because I've never had to do that before.
No,
And so I
she
was
did
like,
it herself, but she was like traumatized by me unwrapping her in the egg and then ran and then was bleeding
out of the
everywhere.
egg. Okay.
Whatever, they're
Okay.
all different problems, but I've been seeing like if I accidentally cut too early, it appears like that will incite too much movement, which can cause.
I absolutely think that's what
Right.
happened because, like I said, when I cut, I looked for that and there wasn't. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it was real tangled. So it freaked the F out and
Right.
was like,
Yeah, and obviously you could obviously like do
Billy's
it.
done a video where you like feed the snake through like multiple times and crap. It wasn't like he just flipped up and it looked like it. No, it was like really tangled.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. If you cut them a little bit later, if they're tangled at that point, they probably have not drowned. But if you fart around with them, they're less likely to bolt with their yoke still attached because they only had like one upsetting incident or something. I don't know. Snakes are weird. That's just what I'm doing now. I don't care really, but I do think I have hurt a snake by scaring it too much.
Yeah, I definitely think that this one was my fault. And, and it sucks because I think that would have been my favorite from the whole clutch.
The paradox one, but not the visual. Sorry.
I definitely was going to keep the visual.
I mean, was it a boy or a girl?
Paper gravel. I haven't sexed it because I'm leaving it in the egg, hoping that I'm wrong, but I'm probably not wrong.
My little dark thingy is a boy.
Is he het for anything?
He's like Pos Clown.
Oh, okay. He's so sexy. Whoa. I would like 12 of those, please.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sell him. He's really nice looking and a nice example. I don't.
He's a dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I meant 12 girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So in that clutch, there was a kinked, one-eyed yellow belly inchie who died already, and a kinked black pastel yellow belly. I had some heat spikes a month ago or something, so I think that was responsible for that.
I put my incubator, it's behind me, and I have a 8-foot window, like a 4-foot by 8-foot window in front of it, and I have a exterior blind that you can put down and it keeps it from heating up in here, and I didn't have it down, and it was like that day that was really hot and nice, and I look over at my incubator. It was only about no, it was only 90.
Oh, that's fine. You're fine.
It normally sits at 88, sometimes 88.9, but it was 90, and it was only about noon, so it hadn't even been like the sun hadn't been coming in very long, and I immediately went out and like fixed it, but I was like, oh fuck, I never even thought about that when I put the incubator right there. It's right there because I was assuming that mid-season I would be moving out to my building. Right. And I didn't want to move my incubator. Hopefully it's fine all summer.
A new incubator, and if the room around it was getting hot because the sun was coming out, it would overheat even though the thermostat was turning off the tape. It's because there was a fan in it that was just adding extra heat that the thermostat couldn't control. So I actually had to go up to 93 for like a little bit.
Yikes.
So there they are. I did finally I was going out there and like opening it up and letting it air out. And I'm like, well, I need the fan to circulate. So I just took the fan out and then I've been testing it without the fan, and it's even enough that I don't care. The fan is too much of a liability since it produces too much heat if the house is also hot.
I had a question for you about your snake house, because when we were at the Monroe show, you had to leave because you had an alert about the temperature of your snake house. You just have like Gobies. Sensor push.
Yeah,
up on
Gobies
top
are
of your
another
rack?
brand. Yeah, I have them in every incubator in every room.
Okay.
In the room,
because I need to get something for my snake shack, especially the first like month or two, and then when winter hits, just to make sure that I've got everything dialed in.
Yeah.
So I need to look into a system that alerts me.
Yeah, sensor push is good. The other ones are probably good too. Obviously, hygrometers technically need to be calibrated, so don't ever believe them.
Right. Yes.
You know what?
The
Just ignore them. You know, but
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but temperatures don't have to be calibrated as often or as much.
And it's still
So
a good like FYI. It looks
yeah,
like it's getting hot in
yeah,
here.
you're more like looking at the trajectories.
Correct.
And
Like,
it
oh, it's gone up 3 degrees.
Yeah, and since I have the Wi-Fi hotspot things, I actually have two of them now. I can check it from anywhere, like the Monroe show, and be like, "We're getting hot, so we have to go home and deal with that." And I would not function without such a thing because everything in there is too expensive. And
Yeah, yeah.
if it was in the house, it'd be different because the house is better controlled with like the house thermostat.
Yeah, like mine is right now, so I don't have anything like that because my snake room has never gotten over 80 degrees ever.
Right, but
Even with the
yeah,
thermostat cranked up in the summertime, like it's right in the center of my house and it's fine.
right. The
So,
shack, yes. You know, a fucking
yes,
squirrel comes in
definitely.
and electrocutes itself on a wire somewhere, and then the power flips, and you're like,
Yes,
100%.
I need some sort of built-in alert in case I miss it or something.
Yeah, and I did buy a spider web herpstat thermostat so I could like check specific thermostats moving forward. But I haven't used it as much because really, you know, if the room is super fucking hot, they're all of them are hot.
Yeah.
It would be good to have that next level of like granularity. Like this rack is overheating, but all of the other ones aren't because this probe is failing or whatever. As I buy new ones, I'll buy spider webs, but I don't know if I'm going to replace all the old ones. I have like a billion thermostats everywhere. So I don't know if I want to pay for spider webs or everything.
Yeah.
That's
Do you have any
all.
collection updates?
I'm pissed he's a boy. There's only one blackhead that's a female. So I'll keep that one. The other one's
Bummer.
fuck off.
Fuck right off.
Fuck off, you dumb shits. I don't think anything else that exciting has happened. Some of the conversations are still giving me being a pain in the ass about eating. I just want to feed them all to the king snake.
Well, she's a fat bitch, so she don't get none.
I tried to feed her that stillborn hog nose and she wouldn't eat it. So maybe she's one of those king snakes that doesn't eat snakes. Irony, everybody.
She's too fat. She's full for like 3 months, bitch.
I know, God.
Has she eaten it all for you?
I haven't tried her besides that stillborn.
Yeah, she's full as fuck, man.
No, nothing too exciting is happening. One of these days we're gonna get a contract on a house, and then one of these days we're gonna move. I guess I got a clutch of ball python eggs, which don't really matter to me that much. Is that terrible to say? I didn't even make a post about it. It's just in my stories. That's how much I care. The desert goes to my pewter.
Oh, okay.
Just the het pairing. It's just like doesn't even matter at all.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll go to the show now because she's laid soon enough relative to the show that she can eat a couple times. And I don't ever want to see another cinnamon for as long as I live. So this is her like last contribution.
Yeah. Cinnamon. Fucking cinnamon.
Yeah, I mean I sold her daughter
Oh, the fuck out.
from last year the Inchy cinnamon pastel at DG female, which I should have wanted to keep because it was like the most genes I could have gotten out of the pairing. Mm-hmm. But I did not want it, clearly. So I'm actually hoping I get like pastel Inchy females to keep. I don't really want any cinnamon combo females.
That's hard for me because my G stripe male with the GHI also has cinnamon.
Right in the trash.
Well, I mean, I have a boy growing up that's gonna headline next season. That yellow belly genetic stripe, but I'm keeping my other one as a backup.
Well, are you planning on getting rid of cinnamon or still keeping it?
Like, I mean, I'm gonna have to keep it. It's just embedded in my project now.
It's okay.
Well,
what sucks about it is the cinnamon Kiki look terrible. So, do you want?
They do.
Any, 8-ball complex in Kiki actually? Like, are they all gonna look sort of dark and indistinct like that? I have a feeling black pastel will be the same way. So it's like substituting black pastel doesn't help. It just maybe that shouldn't even be in the project at all, it turns
Yeah, but
out.
we
You
don't
won't
know
know until you get there,
what's
but
going to happen if you throw GHI and cinnamon together on
don't you
top of
think
a
it's going to be a
kiki.
uniform gray snake? Like it kind of is now? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, nobody
But I
knows.
do want like leopard yellow belly kikis. So what you're
Yeah, I'm
saying
not
is I
saying
should
you
have
should
them
throw
and
the
shouldn't
snake in
keep
the
them back.
trash. I'm saying I wouldn't keep the all gene daughters necessarily. You might want to sell the all gene daughters and keep the leopard yellow belly GHI het daughters.
Yeah, in a
Or
perfect
not.
world where you
Yeah.
don't get ones with cinnamon in it.
Well, we'll see how many you get. How many pairings you have where the G stripe went to a clown?
Just yesterday, my inchy clown from him laid.
So you have 2 sets of eggs or just that one right now?
Just that one right now.
All right. Well, I mean, you keep whatever females you're going to get probably and just suck it up.
Yep. But they look like hot garbage. But inchy to with a cinnamon, if I get an inchy cinnamon, is allelic. So half of them will be good.
Yeah, and maybe the inchy cinnamon kiki looks better than the cinnamon kiki because they're also allelic. So if you
Yeah.
could keep a male that was just inchy,
The male
and the
cannot be. I was gonna
female,
say, yeah, the male
right,
cannot have cinnamon.
right, for your
I
doubles, or if you're going to keep a
fuck.
double from
The
that
male
set.
cannot have pastel. The male cannot have cinnamon. That's why I hesitated on that kiki that I'm big kicking myself over, but I wasn't wrong
Yeah,
to
I mean,
pass on a lesser kiki.
if you got that kiki, it would have been okay, but you couldn't have bred him to every possible permutation of thing you currently have. So he wouldn't be
Correct.
as powerful as he could have been had he not had lesser. So it was okay to skip it, I guess. It's still okay not to skip it and use him only on 8 girls that don't have that problem.
Right.
But no, it's hard to balance between like getting what you want and not getting skunked. Like I don't want a banana in my calico yellow belly. I've talked about this before.
Oh my gosh, he's looking fine.
I know he looks good for what he is. Like he's not getting weird.
I know you say you
colored.
don't want banana in that, but you do want banana in it because then it's like show fodder are all the boys.
I know, but I just don't want to do shows. Like I don't want to make show fodder.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fine.
I know.
But I mean, like your males, you got to sell those anyway. So aren't you making show fodder or wholesale fodder or whatever?
Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway,
I just don't want
by
to.
the nature
We've
of the
already
beast.
like talked about this. I think once. I just
Ad nauseum. Sorry.
want
can be done.
the male. Yeah, we're pretty much done. I just want the male that I get to not have banana in it. So like I'd be, hoping to not hit banana.
I'm the opposite. I want all my males to have banana because then all of the males that I don't want to keep and then I want to sell are banana, and those sell first and always.
At shows.
I do not.
At shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But even in like double het projects, even in triple het projects, like sometimes you just gotta boot those males out the fucking door. You know what
Right,
I mean?
as a banana. Yeah, I know, but I just think it's such a risk doing shows, and it's such a pain in the ass.
You don't have to do shows. It's fine.
I
I'm
would
gonna keep doing shows, so I want bananas so that I can boot that shit out the door.
Yeah, I don't know what I would prefer. Fucking
So I can sell those things as like banana, whatever else, and just leave off the heads, and they're gonna sell because you can put that on Morph Market for 10 years, and you don't need their banana yellow belly double head boy.
I know. To me, banana would make the non-pay worse.
A banana non-pay would be ugly as fuck.
It might not be that ugly. It might be fine, but it's just gonna look like a banana still.
Yeah.
So what I'm
You're
gonna
not
do
wrong.
is I'm gonna use them this year. Obviously, make visual calico yellow belly things and hats with spot nose and other things, and then just send them along and get a different.
Send him along to Jana.
You have a calico yellow belly banana pastel clown. Pos calico.
Pos calico.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. He's a good little snake. He locks with everything.
Do you have a clutch that's been potentially sired by him that's in the incubator already? Or is it all still the banana and she males clutches?
I should know this, but I don't because there's a lot of clutches in my incubator right now. I do not have a clutch, but I do have 2 gravid girls due to lay that got their last lock from him at 30 millimeters.
Sweet. Good luck.
Thanks.
Whatever comes out of there, no pastels. No take-backsies. Yeah.
No take-backsies.
Yeah,
I mean, pastel actually isn't a tragedy when it comes to
banana
enhancer, genetic stripe, clown. I think pastel will be okay. Pastel.
I mean, we'll
Fucking
see.
pastel.
I mean, when Garrick had those double-het Kiki females a couple months ago, there was a fire, a plain one, and a super pastel female double-het Kiki, and the super pastel stayed the longest.
Forever.
Yeah.
And I just kept looking at it going, I just can't.
I think it was Fire OD or something good in one of them that was like 1,200, and you're like, oh, that seems fun.
It went like that.
Yeah. And the normal went eventually because it was cheaper, but it had less liability, and then the super pastel stayed for a hot minute.
Like 6 months or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's like devastating to have pastel in it, but it's
devastating to have super pastel in it.
Yeah. Then you're never getting away from it.
Ever, never, forever.
The Bananagram male I have, I like that he's really saturated. I think that's Yellow Belly doing it.
Super
it's
sexy.
making him like darker than he should be for his age.
Yeah, like he didn't brown out like a banana. He still looks real good. Oh, and that ring. Oh, he is fine. You did the little video, and I was like, "Woo! I need one of his babies."
Well,
she's not gonna.
He's also only like 600 or 700 grams, so he needs to stay nice till he's 2. Like my GHI clown male didn't start looking like tits until sort of the end of his first breeding season, so he would have been 2 years old. He looks okay now, but he looked pretty good as a young breeding male, and it took him getting to officially adult size to sort of poop out a little bit. He almost doesn't look like anything now. He looks just like a fucking shitty clown. Clown problems.
Clown problems. All right, I think we did it.
All right, see you next week. What is our call to action? I guess if you want to leave a review, like Gomez Pythons, who's a cool person, and you guys aren't cool if you don't leave a review, go to your iTunes and leave a review. The reason why leaving a review is important is because that's the only thing that sort of does anything in the podcast algorithm is if you leave a review.
Triggers the algorithm.
Right,
Help us out, guys.
No views, don't do it. There's no upvotes, there's no comments on these stupid RSS feeds. Only reviews. Take a screenshot, send it to Jana, not to me. I'm really busy.
She's real busy, guys. Don't talk to her at all. Also, if you have not joined the Holdback Harem on Facebook.
One call to action per episode, Jana.
Fuck you. One each.
Okay.
So, join the harem. Join the discussion. Leave us good feedback, bad feedback.
No
questions.
Bad feedback. I don't want to fucking hear it.
Oh, I'll deal with the bad feedback because she's real fucking busy, guys.
Yeah, real busy. No, I'll post a picture of that fucking dumpster fire snake on the
my god,
the harem so y'all can make fun of it.
Ethically even breed that. Anyway, yeah. Good night, guys.
Bye. Merry Christmas.